RFK Jr. drops the truth and the FDA snowflakes sprint for the exit. According to this article from the Daily Mail, RFK Jr. walked into the FDA and told the truth, and half the room reacted like he just banned pronouns. Apparently, honesty is now offensive if it comes without a trigger warning and a DEI consultant. Human Health Secretary RFK Jr. delivers a 40-minute off-the-cuff speech, and the FDA wasn't too happy about it. It looks like the FDA just learned what happens when a Kennedy walks in and doesn't kiss the ring of big pharma.
Unfortunately, when the agency was captured by the food industry, they hijacked that designation and they said everything is grass. So in our country, every chemical that is now added to food is assumed to be generally recognized as safe, and no testing is required. And in Europe, where they only have 400 ingredients in our food, we have 10,000. In Europe, chemicals that are added to the food need to be first safety tested before they're allowed in. In our country, that was never so. So we're going to end the use of the GRAS standard, and we're going to then we're going to go back through all the chemicals that are in our food, and we're going to test them one at a time.
Health Secretary RFK Jr., the one that the libs used to love back in the day when he was yelling about oil spills, just gave a speech to FDA staffers that sent half the agency into cardiac arrest. Why? Because he had the audacity to actually tell the truth. He called out the agency's revolving door with the industry, aka regulatory capture, and warned them that just maybe, being friends with companies that you're supposed to regulate isn't the flex that they think it is. Now, you'd think that the people in charge of public health would appreciate a little bit more accountability. Instead, they bolted. They bolted mid-speech because he didn't read his remarks off of a woke, safe, word-safe teleprompter. And yes, he did use an outdated term while recounting his story about his time helping disabled kids back in the 1970s. And then boom, guess what happened? The woke mob was instantly activated because apparently in 2025, intent doesn't matter. You can spend your life fighting polluters, big pharma giants, and government corruption. But if you say one thing outside the progressive script, the outrage machine turns on faster than Jasmine Crockett mid-meltdown.
Y'all know we got Governor Hot Wheels down there. Come on now.
He said that the FDA's credibility is in the gutter, which it is, in my opinion. He said too many people inside these agencies are doing the bidding of companies that they're supposed to be policing. And he said, it's time to clean house.
Our department is filled for the most part with competent, conscientious public servants, and yet the agency has been inefficient as a whole. Over the past 4 years during the Biden administration, HHS's budget increased by 38%, and its staffing increased by 17%, but all that money has failed to improve the health of Americans. I now understand why all this money is not improving our health. HHS is a sprawling bureaucracy that encompasses literally hundreds of departments, committees, and other offices. I have some good news, though. As part of President Trump's DOGE workforce reduction initiative, we're going to streamline HHS to make our agency more efficient and more effective. We're going to imbue the agency with a clear sense of mission to radically improve the health of Americans and to improve agency morale. We're going to eliminate an entire alphabet soup of departments and agencies while preserving their core functions by merging them into a new organization called the Administration for a Healthy America, or
AHA. And guess what? This isn't a conspiracy theory by any means. That's what most Americans already believe, that the FDA is filled with deep state sock puppets, and they don't want to believe it.
I know most about Gates, because I've written a book about him, and that what he calls philanthrocapitalism, which is you use philanthropy to make yourself rich. and you use it strategically, and that's what he's done again and again. Instead of remedying the chronic disease crisis, perverse incentives have administrators checking boxes and grading their own homework while public health declines. A few isolated divisions are neglecting public health altogether and seem only accountable to the industries that they're supposed to be regulating. In one case, defiant bureaucrats impeded the secretary's office from accessing the closely guarded databases that might reveal the dangers of certain drugs and medical interventions.
They just don't usually hear it when it comes from inside the building. So a few staffers walked out because they were offended by his tone and the verbiage that he used. Good. Good. Maybe it's time the FDA gets a little less cozy with Pfizer and a little bit more comfortable with actual truth. RFK Jr. goes on to say the deep state is real. And it's not, just George Soros and Bill Gates. It's a bunch of nefarious individuals sitting together in a room and plotting the destruction of humanity. He suggests that FDA employees ought to take advantage of their 4-year period ahead where the deep state has been disempowered now that he and Trump are in charge of federal institutions. Among the other things that staffers at the FDA were upset about is that RFK called them sock puppets. And he used a word that's now considered a slur by some that shocked attendees. RFK goes on to say, because my family is committed to these issues. I spent 200 hours in the Wasiak home for the retarded when I was in high school, Kennedy said in a reference to the Wasiak School of the Mentally Retarded in Wasiak, New York. The school closed in 2013, and once an institution is created to the people with developmental issues. Politico reported that several FDA employees misheard Robert F. Kennedy's use of the R word and thought he was making a derogatory remark. Oh my gosh. You better get your tampons out because they was bleeding. They was dusty. Kennedy also addressed the deep state conspiracy theory. Trump and his closest allies have spent 8 years talking about how to dismantle the so-called shadowy group of unelected bureaucrats hell-bent on sabotaging MAGA policies. And this is true. They're not really, these folks that walked out of this meeting aren't focused on the actual policies that are being implemented. They're just offended. They are offended. If honesty makes government workers uncomfortable, maybe that says more about them than it does about RFK. RFK came in with the facts, and the people who ran out just prove his point. Let me know what you guys think about this. Drop it down in the comment section down below. Smash the like button, share, subscribe. And as always, guys, I'll catch you on the next one.